Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all well. Now, before we kick off with this webinar, if anybody's having any sort of technical challenges in viewing or hearing this webinar stream at all, what I highly recommend is to go through your kind of troubleshooting that we all tend to go through if something doesn't work for us first time around, anything technology related. So that might be that if you are tuning in on your laptop or desktop computer, feel free just to hit the refresh button on your web browser page. Alternatively, if you are viewing this on your mobile device, feel free to maybe come out of the YouTube app and then click back on the link that you received for this session, and hopefully everything should be working for you. Feel free to also have a pen and paper on hand, just so you can kind of jot down some notes as we go along throughout the course of this session. One thing to note with this webinar session is that live captioning is available. So if you did want to toggle on live captioning, you can do so by hovering onto this YouTube video um, uh, screen, and you can actually just select the icon which has the letter CC inside of a small square box, and that is the live captioning button to turn it on and also to turn it off as well. Okay, so I hope everyone's geared up for this session. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session all about writing for social media. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to last for approximately 60 minutes. So I'll kick off first with just a little bit about me. So I'm a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. As well as that, I'm also a digital marketer. So I work with businesses to help them to create and to grow an online presence. Now, a large part of kind of presence online these days does seem to be that kind of phenomenon and kind of juggernaut, I guess, which is social media. And we're going to be kind of talking about social media from an aspect, as you can see, writing for social media. But when we kind of have the title for this session as writing for social media, it generally kind of refers to creating content in general, whether it be in the written form, whether it be kind of an image, whether it be video. And that's why we're going to be kind of looking at that aspect when it comes to content creation, but also the methodology between us kind of writing and creating a piece of content and putting it out there, and kind of looking at how we kind of have control over that kind of piece of content in terms of does it accurately reflect our brand? Does it accurately reflect who we are in terms of what we stand for and what we're all about as well? So that's what we're going to be kind of exploring in this session. That's just kind of a brief kind of, I guess, overview of who I am. So that's a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Rashane. Now, whilst you won't see Rashane appear on screen, you will see Rashane appear in the live chat. So you might have noticed somewhere on kind of either the bottom right or on the right hand side, somewhere on your YouTube screen, there is a live chat box. That is your space over the course of this next hour to drop in your comments, to drop in your questions that you might have. And myself and Rashane will be able to kind of provide our thoughts on them as we go along. And it's always quite sort of useful. I always find when it comes to, especially if you kind of jumping on webinar sessions like this, because it's not kind of in person. It's always still nice to have a degree of interactiveness. So that is the live chat for you. So feel free to kind of get involved. Feel free to also share where you're kind of tuning in from. I guess that's kind of the beauty of YouTube. You can kind of be tuning in not only from kind of different parts of the UK, which is where myself and Rashane are based, but also in different parts of the world as well. So be sure to kind of say hello if you do get time, and feel free to kind of ask questions and kind of drop in your comments in terms of what you will see on screen. There will be kind of a question coming up later on. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on as well. Now, this session that we are running today on writing for social media is one of many webinars that we actually run as part of a wider Google Digital Garage webinar offering. So if you have a look at the Google Digital Garage website, I'm sure the link should be in the video description box below. But I'm sure that Rashane will kind of drop a link into the live chat for you as well. You're able to sign up for more webinars, predominantly related to the world of digital marketing. We actually have one which kind of goes hand in hand with this session. And that's a webinar that we run called Social Media Strategy. So if that's of interest to you as well, be sure to check out when the next running session on that topic is. And you've just got to sign up like you did for this session, and you were able to attend the webinar session at no charge. Now, another resource you'll find online, which is available at no charge, are the online courses that are provided by Google Digital Garage. These are online courses that aim to kind of supplement your learning, kind of build on the learnings that you may have from either attending an online Google Digital Garage webinar session, or for those of you who are based in the UK, it kind of builds upon the learning if you ever attended an in-person Google Digital Garage webinar session as well. And again, these courses are available at no charge to you. There is a course on there called the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing, which is a course that actually, upon completion, you get an added bonus in that you receive a certificate from Google at no charge as well. So be sure to kind of check out all those resources when you get a moment. But in regards to this session on Writing for Social Media, let's have a look at what we're going to be looking at for this session. So we're first of all going to be defining our brand on social media. So we're going to be looking at kind of what makes us as a business, as a brand, us essentially. What kind of what is our identity, and how can we weave that into the content that we create, whether it be for a website, but specifically for the purpose of this session, when it comes to creating content for our presence on social media as well. We're then going to be kind of moving on to kind of writing social media and kind of looking at kind of the best practices and kind of good principles to kind of adopt when it comes to any type of content creation in general. And some of these, as we go along, you might be thinking, oh yeah, Rikesh, I already know about this, or I already think about this, or I already do this when I'm sitting down to either write something out, or creating a video, or creating a caption for an image perhaps as well. So we're going to be going through some of those kind of good practices. And then kind of rounding off this session is we're going to be looking at kind of some tools for content marketing as well, to hopefully elevate maybe your game in general. And we'll be kind of exploring some of the kind of the softwares that are kind of out there that might be kind of useful. Some of these, again, you might be using. Some of these might be new to you as well. Now, before we get into kind of the first part of this webinar session on kind of the defining your brand for social media, I want to draw your attention to another fantastic resource that is available to you. So you can see here from the title, it says free one-to-one mentoring available from Google. So this is a fantastic opportunity for those of you who are or work for a small business or a charity based in the UK. You can sign up for Google Mentoring. This is your opportunity to have kind of a one-to-one, kind of a direct kind of dialogue with a Google mentor in regards to digital skills, challenges, and maybe help that you might require. And even just at times, just talking things through with somebody on the other end of the screen, as these one-to-one mentoring sessions are ran online through video calls. So this is a fantastic opportunity to kind of do that. Maybe it's a case of you want a little bit of help with your social media content. It might be that you want to kind of have a chat a little bit about your website, or any other kind of digital skills assistance that you might kind of need as well. So it's different from kind of tech support or anything like that, but it's more about kind of mentoring, kind of going through different aspects that you feel that you might require a little bit of assistance, or kind of bridging that kind of that knowledge gap for you when it comes to dealing with different aspects of your business and or charity. So be sure to kind of check out the website for a bit more information as well. I'm sure that Roshane will kind of drop a link into the live chat. I believe that Roshane has already dropped in the link in the live chat for you there as well. So let's have a look at kind of defining your brand on social media. And I want to kind of kick off by kind of exploring this question, which you can see here on screen, which is, what is a brand tone of voice? So the word kind of brand is something which can be quite sort of grand in general. It's something which talks about kind of different aspects of your business. Now, we actually do a really useful webinar session that we run called Build Your Business Brand Online, which kind of explores the differences between your brand and business. So those two words, they can be used interchangeably, and for the purpose of this webinar session, we're going to be using them kind of hand in hand. But there are kind of clear distinctions, and kind of very briefly, your brand is kind of more about your image in terms of what you want to portray about your business, in terms of who you are, what you're about, what you stand for. Um, Whereas your business is kind of more your operational sides, the actual doing parts. What do you actually sell? What services do you provide, for instance, as well? Now, taking that on a little bit more for this particular question, what do we mean by a brand tone of voice? So, essentially, your brand's tone of voice is the personality. It's the personality of your brand or business. You can see here on screen. Now, the best way that I like to kind of look at this is um, when we kind of set up a business, or maybe we're in the process of or considering setting up a business. We might well have written down exactly what our business is, what it's about, and that might we might have titled that business plan or business mission, whatever it is that you kind of selling, product or service related. So imagine that you've typed it up, for instance, or you've got it written down physically, pen and paper, and you've got that kind of either on your desk or your workplace or workstation, wherever that may be. And let's say by the power of kind of magic, that piece of paper turns in overnight into a real breathing human being, in true kind of comic book or kind of cartoon fashion. Now, if your business, what you've written down on a piece of paper, if that turns into a real breathing human being, think about how would it talk? How would it interact with your customers or potential customers? What sort of value sets would it kind of embody in general as well? So that's what we kind of mean by brand's tone of voice. Now, taking that a little bit further and kind of thinking about this kind of human embodiment, um, a question I want to kind of ask you is one that you can see here on screen, which is if your business or brand was a celebrity, who would it be and why? So feel free to kind of share your thoughts if you can kind of think of a celebrity and you feel that their I guess their kind of characteristics um kind of align with your businesses, then feel free to kind of share this as we progress throughout the course of this session. So you can share this in the live chat. Now you can see some examples here on screen. You've got the likes of Bill Nye, you've got George Clooney, you've got Beyonce. So for example, if we take George Clooney, the George Clooney brand is all about being kind of sophisticated, laid back, and smooth, which kind of attests to George Clooney as the individual, as the human there as well. Um, so think about maybe just first of all writing down, and this is something we'll look at in a few moments' time, but writing down kind of a handful of words that you believe really kind of embody your business, your brand, essentially. So you can see kind of there's three words for each one of these celebrities here on screen, and feel free to kind of write that down first. Once you've done that, then you can kind of have a think and think, right, okay, which celebrity has the same sort of kind of words, I guess, attributed to them and to their brand as a whole as well. And that might be something which you may just want to have a bit of a fun Google of, and kind of find and kind of be aware of kind of the different kind of celebrities out there that have these different characteristics, and hopefully you'll kind of find one which has the same or similar characteristics to kind of some of the words and or phrases that you've jotted down as well. Now, when it comes to kind of these kind of questions in terms of your brand, who would it be and why? What we're exploring here in this kind of first part of this webinar session is essentially we're exploring how to develop our brand tone of voice, and this is something which is going to be really important when it comes to content creation. This doesn't apply just to creating content for social media. You can use this very kind of this very much kind of tone of voice that you've created for your brand. You can use this when you're creating content for your website, for your business's website, for instance, as well. You can have this tone of voice in mind whenever you go and meet a customer, or you go and meet a potential client, or you go to a networking event, and you are essentially, especially if you are business that's just starting out, typically you might well be the one person that is the person that's setting up the business. That is the person who is going out and showing your face and going to various events and meetings and networking events, and kind of showing your face. You are the person that's also marketing as well. But you can always kind of keep this kind of brand tone of voice in mind as well. And we're going to be looking at kind of the 4 steps to developing your brand tone of voice. So you got brand values, user pen portrait, how you speak, and your choice of words. So if we have a look at kind of brand values first and foremost, what we want to kind of ask ourselves here is, what does our brand or business stand for? So we want to kind of think of the values that we embody as a business, as a brand. Now, a lot of these might actually flow seamlessly into our own kind of values as an individual. What are our own kind of moral values, and what do we kind of believe in, and what do we kind of stand ourselves? What do we kind of pride ourselves on in general as well? So as we kind of go through each one of these kind of steps to developing our brand tone of voice, I want to kind of share with you a couple of business examples of how they would kind of tackle each one of these steps in turn. So we've got 2 businesses here. The first one that you can see here on the left is Nico's Pizzeria. So with Nico's Pizzeria, their brand values include making quality pizza with fresh ingredients. Okay. They provide excellent customer service. Well, that's their kind of their value. They value that highly. They take pride in providing excellent customer service, um, and they also value that they provide fast and reliable home delivery or takeaway. Okay, so they're just kind of a couple of kind of well, a few kind of short phrases in terms of what are their values. What do Nico's Pizzeria stand for? Now, another business example is the one that you can see on the right hand side, and it's a business that's in a different industry. So you've got Hathaway Legal, who are a law firm. So for them, their values, what they stand for, you might have actually noticed this if you've ever worked for kind of certain kind of employers in the past. I know I've definitely experienced this working for various kind of companies or maybe organizations in the past. You might kind of see it somewhere. It might be kind of in a meeting room or conference room, or in the staff room, or elsewhere, whereby there's kind of you get maybe something on the wall which has kind of our core values or our company values or something like that. And that's what these will typically be in general as well. So with Hathaway Legal, for them, what does their business, what does their law firm stand for? They dedicate the highest level of diligence to each case. They believe that their clients deserve a quick response, and that they only hire top lawyers who have trained at prestigious institutions. So that's for them, that's their values in terms of they use that as kind of a guiding light. So any sort of interaction that they have, whether it be speaking on the phone to a client, whether it be replying to an inquiry for a potential new client who is coming on board with the law firm, whatever it might be, they have these values always kind of at hand as well. And it's an important kind of step. And that's why we have this as kind of step one, kind of identifying our brand values is step one of developing our brand tone of voice. Now, step two is to kind of answer the question that you can see on screen is, how would you describe a core member of your audience? Now, that word audience, it's very easy to kind of just change that word. So how would you describe a core member of your customer base or your client? Or another way of kind of phrasing that question is, who would be your ideal type of customer? What sort of characteristics make up your ideal type of client, whatever it might be. So you can rephrase that question as well. But you can see here we've got this phrase which says user pen portrait. So if I was to take out the word pen for a moment and I was to say, oh, I'd like for you to provide me with a user portrait of your ideal type of customer. So if I said that to you, you might be thinking, huh, is Rikesh, what does he want me to do? Do I need to paint a picture of what my ideal type of customer would look like? Because that will probably be the natural thinking that most people would have. And you'd be absolutely correct. So if we actually add in the word pen here, what this phrase relates to is creating a written description of who would be your ideal type of customer. And what this essentially is, a user pen portrait is typically an exercise where you are kind of building out and writing down a very thorough description on all the characteristics that make up your ideal type of customer. And what this does is it has a really powerful effect when it comes to you creating content, because when you're creating content, you can have these kind of characteristics of your ideal type of customer to hand when you are creating content. And you can actually use this written description of your ideal type of customer as kind of like a filter to see, oh, would this piece of content that I'm currently working on or creating, would that resonate well with my ideal type of customer or not? So we can use that as a filter as well, because the thing that really can be that can really take time away from us when it comes to content creation is if we actually create content for everyone, we end up creating content for no one. So even if we are a business that says we cater for everyone, we are providing our product to anyone and everyone, or our service is for everyone. That's all good and well, but what you'll tend to find is you'll find that there are um, customers or potential customers who are going to be more attracted to your business offering than others. And they are the ones that you want to kind of focus in terms of creating content for the most in general as well. So if we actually have a look at our pizzeria and law firm examples in terms of what they've done, in terms of this user pen portrait exercise. So Nico's Pizzeria, they've created somebody called Simon. So again, they've created a fictitious name. They've given all these characteristics. So Simon is apparently a young single professional in his late 20s, works full time in advertising, living in Brighton. Leads a very busy work and social life, has a big appetite for adventure, a keen athlete, enjoys playing football, but also goes to his local bar with his mates to watch televised sporting events. So that's quite sort of a descriptive kind of paragraph there of somebody called Simon. And similarly with Hathaway Legal, they've created the ideal type of client. So that is Sally, early 30s, single, her first time buying a new apartment in Leeds city centre. Works for an insurance company, enjoys reading the newspaper and drinking a macchiato at her nearby coffee shop. Tech fanatic, enjoys getting the latest gadgets, graduated with a degree in history, a bit of a grammar nerd, and appreciates quality. Now, the reason why I read all of that out, because you could have quite easily just read it yourself, which you probably did as well. But the reason why I read both of them out was as I was going through the description of Simon or Sally, respectively, what probably would have started happening in your mind, and what was definitely happening in my mind as I was reading it, is my imagination was trying to kind of formulate what this person looks like. And imagination is such a powerful tool. And that's why this exercise of creating a user pen portrait, it might kind of seem really trivial or really silly to create a written description with all these kind of different characteristics. So giving them a name, giving them an age range, giving them a location where they live, giving all these kind of interests that they have in terms of going to a specific coffee shop and kind of giving them certain interests as well. So that is something which, again, as trivial as it can seem, it's something that does work as kind of a filter process when it comes to creating content. So these are kind of some of the things that we can maybe look to kind of create and kind of answer when it comes to our ideal type of customer. So think about kind of what is their what are the things that they care about most in life? Do they have any specific hobbies or any interests outside of work? What is their kind of their budget for kind of enjoying themselves on a monthly basis, in comparison to kind of other kind of commitments, such as kind of paying rent, for example, as well. What are their kind of talents? What's their ambitions as well, in life as well? You can create these written descriptions, and it's something which, once you've created it, it's great. You can maybe create a handful of these user pen portraits, especially if you're trying to sort of target certain types of ideal type of customers or clients. But again, you don't want to create 50 of these or 20 of these or anything like that, because that again goes back to that phrase that we looked at earlier on. If you create content for everyone, you end up creating content for no one. So that's kind of step two of developing a brand tone of voice, is trying to identify who is your ideal type of customer. And a user pen portrait allows us to kind of do that and kind of answer that question as much as possible. Now, step three, we've kind of actually gone through here in terms of describing your personality of your business, your brand of business, because when we went through that question of If your brand or business was a celebrity, who would it be and why? You would have seen kind of three phrases or three words rather, and that's the kind of the same that we've actually created here with Nico's Pizzeria. So for them, they speak with charm, they speak with authenticity because they are a pizza restaurant, an authentic Italian pizza restaurant. And another word that they've attributed here is family because they're a family-run restaurant. But again, those words are very much linked to them. And similarly, you've got Hathaway Legal. Um, for them, they've kind of used words such as powerful, efficient, and experienced as well. Now, if you are maybe kind of struggling or you really aren't sure exactly what sort of words really define kind of how you speak, how you come across, be sure to kind of circle back to the first step of developing a brand tone of voice, which is thinking about our values. So, for example, Hathaway Legal, if you look at kind of one of their words here, which says experienced. Now, that word experienced actually comes from the fact in their values, they say that they only hire top lawyers who have trained at prestigious institutions. So there's kind of a direct correlation there. Same thing with kind of the word efficient that they've got, because looking back at their values, they believe that their clients deserve a quick response, which is kind of one of the definitions, I guess, of efficiency there as well. So that's something to kind of consider. Is if you're not really too sure about kind of those words, be sure to kind of reflect back and forth with your brand values that you set out in kind of step one there as well. Now, the fourth and final step in terms of developing your brand tone of voice is to kind of create some guidelines for words that you will and won't use. And this is kind of like creating a bit of a playbook in terms of how you create content for your social media. And generally, you can even apply this throughout your website as well. So you're kind of setting yourself some rules in terms of words that you will use within your content and words that you won't use. So if we look at this with an example here with our two businesses, so with Nico's Pizzeria, they don't refer to their customers as customers. You can see the word customer is kind of crossed out there. They refer to their customers as patrons. That's the word that they use. So in any communication that they use, whether it be through any of their social media platforms, whether it be on their website, they only refer to them as patrons. Similarly, you can see they use words like ciao and welcome and appetizing and fresh. They also they don't use the word restaurant. They don't refer to themselves as a restaurant ever. Uh, Within their content. They only refer to themselves as a pizzeria, which actually goes hand in hand with the fact that they are called Nico's Pizzeria. Similarly, with Hathaway Legal, in terms of how they come across, whether it be in written form or whether it be in spoken form, if members of Hathaway Legal go to various events or go to client meetings, they won't use kind of more kind of relaxed or casual types of words like cheers or fab or thanks. They will say thank you, they will say excellent, they will say kind regards as well, which is in keeping with their brand as a law firm as well. So that's kind of a few things to consider when it comes to kind of creating your own rule book in terms of words that you will and words that you won't use as well. So that's something to be aware of, and it's really really important to develop your own brand's tone of voice, because this will give you kind of that blueprint, that template to work off. Whenever you're creating anything, you have that template, you have these rules, you know, and have in your mind and have written down some of your ideal types of customers. You know your values as well. The way I like to kind of look at values at times, it's a little bit like if we are taking kind of driving directions or walking directions and to somewhere that we've not been before, but we want to kind of go there. It's kind of a focal point. Whenever we kind of type in the destination on our sat nav app, is kind of a destination that we want to always be heading in that direction as well. So if something is a little bit off, something's not quite right, well, we know how to correct ourselves because we have that kind of main mission or missions with all these different kind of values that we take pride in as a business, as a charitable organization as well. So that's kind of a few things to consider in terms of developing your brand's tone of voice. So let me just have a quick check in, see if there's any sort of questions coming in from you at all. Okay, I can't see any questions at the moment. If there are any questions, pop them in the chat. Remember that other question that I asked you earlier on as well, is if your business or brand was a celebrity, who would it be and why? So feel free, still have a think as we're kind of moving on to the next part of this webinar session. Feel free to have a think and let me know your celebrity in the chat. But I don't just want to hear and kind of know and kind of read just the name of the celebrity. Tell me kind of some of the characteristics of that celebrity that you believe that your brand or business embodies as well. So let me know, type away in the live chat. If you in order to kind of type away in the live chat, you will simply just need to sign into your YouTube account, and then you can type away as well and interact with the likes of myself and also Rashane, who is our chat moderator. Okay, so let's kind of move into kind of looking at kind of guiding principles and best practices when it comes to creating content for social media. And I want to kick off with this quote, which says, "I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have the time." So this is a really apt and kind of timely kind of quote, and it's the reason why we have this here, because nowadays we don't really have that much. We don't really have that much time to kind of digest information. Um, Especially in kind of the ever expanding and kind of fast paced world of social media. So our main kind of goal with social media is to be short, sharp, brief, and to the point. That's what our kind of objective should be with any type of content that we post on social media in general as well. Now there is room for kind of have a longer form piece of content as well. We speak a little bit more about this in our webinar session called Create Video for YouTube, where we kind of go a little bit more in depth in terms of longer form pieces of content, especially when it comes to video. So that's something, if you want to check that out, have a look at the website, the Google Digital Garage website, for more information on when the next running session on Create Video for YouTube is as well. But the main thing with social media in general is we have rather short attention spans. So it's actually been estimated that the average human attention span is roughly only about 8 seconds, as you can see here on screen. There's not a lot of attention span that we do have these days in general. So if you even think about your own kind of behaviors in terms of how kind of distracted we get, so even kind of going through this webinar session as we've been going through for this period of time so far, some of you may have been kind of diverting your attention as I've been talking, thinking, what shall I have for dinner this evening, or uh, what do I need to do in my work day for later today, or for tomorrow, depending on kind of where you're tuning in from different parts of the world. You might be kind of at the end of the day, you might be kind of like me, kind of towards the start of the day if you're based in the UK as well. So that's okay to kind of have that short attention spans, but what we can do with that information as content creators, albeit for our kind of business or charity, is we can kind of use that to our advantage and kind of always have that in our mind whenever we are creating content. Because as you can see here on screen, it says the average human attention span is roughly about 8 seconds. But when it comes to social media, our attention span, through kind of a few kind of articles, have actually suggested that our attention spans actually drop to closer to around 3 seconds. So even if we think about our own kind of social media behaviors, so many of us, myself included, we tend to kind of just scroll. We tend to scroll through our newsfeed, and it takes something really profound, something that really kind of catches your eye for you to actually stop your finger on that newsfeed from scrolling. So, with all that in mind, one of the best kind of practices that we can adopt is to be short, sharp, and to the point. And another way that could be put is to write for a goldfish or write for the goldfish. Now, I'll caveat this with saying I've got nothing against goldfishes at all. One of my favorite animated movies of all time is probably Finding Nemo, even though I appreciate Nemo isn't a goldfish, Nemo is a clownfish. But the reason why you can see it says right for the goldfish is because goldfishes, statistically through various studies again, have been shown to have rather short attention spans as well. Although, ironically, the average attention span for a goldfish is roughly about 9 seconds. which is actually a second more than the average human attention span as well. So that's something to just kind of be aware of as well. But the main kind of point to make here is we want to be short, sharp, and to the point in general as well. So how can we be short, sharp, and to the point? Well, one of the things that we can do is to think about kind of what people look at first. Now, a lot of the times, people will just read the first line of something. If we think about our behaviors when it comes to visiting kind of news websites, or in my case, I kind of visit a lot of the sports news websites quite a lot as well. But what grabs my attention is kind of the headline or what's on kind of the first line. And then if I'm interested, I can click onto it and kind of read a little bit more, or kind of read the second sentence or second half of the sentence, for instance, as well. So that's why you can see here, we want to kind of maybe make an assumption that our reader, and when I say reader, we can change this to be potential customer as well. So we can assume that they will only read the first half of your sentence, for example, as well. And that's not to kind of say that our customers or readers are not willing to read any more than that. But if we can grab their attention very quickly, then that's great. We can kind of grab their attention within that first 8 seconds. Then that's something that will make them read the rest of what we have got to say as well. Another good practice is when it comes to creating content is to focus on the user. So focus on the person on the other end of the screen who's going to be consuming our content. So we want to kind of think of different ways that a customer, potential customer, would actually look at your piece of content that you put out there. So you can see we can focus on motivating factors. So what's the reason that somebody will want to come across and that or come along and actually look at your content on one of your social media platforms? Is it the fact that they are maybe just looking to bust a little bit of boredom? Are they looking to be entertained? Are they looking to be educated? Are they looking to be are they looking to kind of learn something new? I do this quite a lot on kind of YouTube videos, kind of how-to videos, and then I kind of try and learn something new, for example, as well. So that's something to kind of think about when it comes to motivating factors. Now, on the other side of the coin, you can see here pain points. So, are people consuming, or are they wanting to be consuming your type of content because they believe that your content will help them to alleviate some of those pain points as well? So, do people struggle with something in life in particular, or something that really takes something that's really kind of labor intensive or time intensive that can actually be resolved by your product or service offering? This actually works quite a lot and is built into a lot of kind of pitches for companies who are looking to maybe get investment. So I know in the UK there is a television show here called Dragon's Den, where you get individuals who come in and pitch in front of wealthy investors and say, I'd love for you to invest within my company, and kind of provide a little bit of guidance. But throughout or kind of maybe at the beginning of their pitch, they will mention kind of pain points that some people may have. And then they'll kind of reveal their shiny product or service that they sell and provide respectively, that can be used for as well. So where possible, we want to focus on the user, because that is something which is going to get somebody interested quicker than you just saying, right, this product is generic, it's there for everyone, as opposed to, oh, this is here to solve your problems, or this is here to touch upon kind of maybe one of your motivating factors as well. And when it comes to focus on the user, this is kind of a golden rule that is used at Google when it comes to kind of content creation in general as well, to kind of place that focus so that something feels like it's resonating with that actual person on the other end of the screen as well. So in terms of in terms of another type of way of capturing attention, is we want to kind of focus upon benefits of our product or service um, before we focus on the features. And this actually goes in hand with what we just looked at with focusing on the user. So if we look at this with an example, so say we are a business and we are selling a new gadget watch. If we actually led with features such as it's waterproof up to 5 meters, it's got 5 millimeters of thick glass, comes in various colors, and it's got a spherical interface. For somebody who may not necessarily be in kind of the gadget watch world, they've never bought one before, they don't really know too much about them, all these kind of features or kind of statistics, as I like to call them sometimes, um, they that kind of potential customer might just shrug their shoulders and be like, waterproof up to 5 meters. Okay. 5 millimeters of thick glass. Okay. These are just numbers. These are just kind of statements that are there on screen for me. Um, but a really great way, rather, and there is a place for actually adding in features, but a place and a way of actually getting somebody's attention quicker at times can be focusing on the benefits, and specifically the benefits which may well resonate with them. So rather than saying waterproof up to 5 meters straight away, you can say it's our fantastic new gadget watch which you can take swimming. You're like, great, I like to go swimming twice a week, so it'd be fantastic for me to take it with me and for me to be able to kind of track the amount of laps that I do in the pool. 5 millimeters of thick glass, again, they might just be like, okay, cool, that's fine. But if you say, oh, it's smash resistant, then they might think, oh yeah, I'm usually a bit clumsy at times, kind of just knocking my watch on walls and places that I go by accident. So this is quite good that that this new gadget watch is quite robust as well. So we want to kind of focus on these benefits, but then we can back it up with the features as well. So yeah, you can take it swimming because it's waterproof up to 5 meters as well. So that's something to consider there as well. Now, kind of putting some of these kind of best practices that we just looked at into an example here, or kind of three speech bubble examples here as well. So you can see the one in red. The red bubble says, boost your CV with a free. So with this, we've kind of purposely, intentionally kind of grayed out the second line because we're assuming that our reader is only going to read the first half of the sentence. But boost your CV. So this is very much focusing on the user. We're focusing on the benefit. Okay, my CV will get boosted. And with this one, it's actually got quite an apt kind of word at the end there on the first line, which says free. I'm like, free. I'm interested even more as well. And then digital marketing course as well. If we take one other kind of speech bubble here, which is, let's have a look at the blue one here, which says, get a free coffee roasting kit. Okay, I like coffee. How do I go about getting this free coffee roasting kit? I'm interested as well when you try 3 bags of our roasting coffee as well. So there's a bit more context that comes later as well. But we want to kind of grab attention, but we don't want to kind of grab attention from a point of, oh, win a trip to a tropical island, but then you're talking about a product which is completely unrelated to that as well. So you don't want to kind of oversell and under deliver as well. So there's kind of a fine balance here when it comes to content creation, but it's important to kind of adopt some of the best practices that we just kind of spoken about, but ensure that we kind of align that with our values and align that with our business offering as well. Now, another thing that we want to be aware of when it comes to creating content is to use clear and simple language, and avoid any sort of complicated language that there may be and that we may well at times be tempted to use. So we want to make sure that whatever we use, it's reader friendly. And this also applies to verbal types of content producer. It could be like a video where you are talking in front of camera or somebody is, just to use kind of reader friendly and kind of viewer friendly types of information and language. Because the one thing to know is if you're looking to attract a customer, potential customer, they might not necessarily know a lot of the jargon or technical terms that you might actually be referring to certain things as within the industry as well. So that's something just to kind of be aware of as well when it comes to kind of language, because the one thing that really grabs people's attention is if you are just being very much kind of simple. Sometimes simplicity can be the beauty of it all rather than kind of complicating, using jargon words, using internal language. The only time that I would probably say it might be okay to use jargon or a little bit of technical words or language, but again, this will be using it sparingly, is if you are maybe selling business to business and you are looking to maybe demonstrate your understanding and knowledge of an industry that you are looking to kind of get into or work with businesses within that other industry as well. So you're able to kind of just show off a little bit and kind of let them know that you know a little bit about their world, about their industry as well. But that is something which is very much If in doubt, stick with kind of everyday words, uncomplicated sentences, and just kind of avoid, in general, avoid things like flowery words or unnecessary language in general as well. So another important factor when it comes to content creation is how do I get it as short and concise as possible? And this is something which, for me, there's never kind of a fast track rule in terms of how to get something as concise as possible very quickly. This is something which takes time. So even if I consider a piece of content that I created like 1 year ago, and I look at the types of content that I'm creating now, I will probably be able to chart and see, oh, I was able to get rid of this flowery word or this unnecessary word that I've got here as well. And it happens over time. The more that you kind of um, write piece of content, whether it be whether it be image, text based, or video based, for example, there will be points in time where you'll be able to, over time, through repetition, start to kind of cut down your copy, but then keep that same meaning and same messaging that you want to get across as well. Now, one factor when it comes to social media that we want to be aware of, which I'm sure many of us are aware of, is that as well as social media can be a force for good in terms of a business being able to showcase what we do, there might be times where people may slip through the net in terms of not necessarily receiving the service that they were promised, or a product is faulty, for example, as well. So we want to be able to have kind of a framework in order to be able to handle uh, complaints and or grievances that may come through to us in general as well. And that is where we want to very much be able to provide a polite and professional reply to that complaint or grievance. And with that polite and professional reply, if it's something that we need to kind of investigate a little bit further on, then we also want to make sure that we kind of try and take things offline, continue that conversation offline, rather than kind of going through kind of a full-on kind of conversation chain through social media in general as well. So ways in which we can actually um, kind of provide a response to any kind of complaints or grievance is to avoid passive language. So when it comes to avoiding passive language, you might have actually had passive language sent through to you, or someone's kind of said it in the past to you. I've had kind of emails from companies before in the past which say something like this: "Dear Sir slash Madam," so they don't even address me by my name. We thank you for your email. We will endeavour to read and provide a response in due course. Kind regards, customer service team. Now that's as passive as you can get, because for me, I don't know who's reading it, who it's not even signed off by anybody in the customer service team. I don't know when they're going to read it. I don't know when they're going to reply. And that's as passive as can be. And that's something that can rile a customer up even further if you're kind of using that type of language. So we want to avoid that. Now, we want to also, within kind of within our responses, evaluate whether we're able to fix the problem. Are we able to offer a refund? Are we able to offer an exchange there and then? Or is it a case of we get through that complaint or grievance, but we are not sure in terms of how to fix the problem therein, because there might be 50 customers that have the same name as that individual, or we don't really know the individual's name properly. So we might need to kind of ask them for the order number or for their surname, for instance, as well. So if we're not able to fix the problem, that's fine. We can kind of take steps to kind of ask them kind of further questions, further probing questions. But if we're able to fix the problem, great, we can offer them within our response as well. Be jokey as a time and place. So my kind of rule with this is, when it comes to responding to complaints or grievances, is if there's money at stake, which there usually is when somebody is complaining to a company or an organization, whether it be a faulty product, whether it be service that they pay for which they hadn't got, then just kind of steer on the side of caution, just kind of steer on the side of providing a serious response rather than having any sort of jokey or kind of having any sort of tongue-in-cheek humor or anything like that at all as well. And be sure to kind of sign off with a name. That kind of provides that kind of personal touch. They know who they are speaking to, albeit through kind of digital means as well. So if we kind of have a look at some of these kind of practices and kind of principles in action here. Let's have a look at an example complaints here. So it says, look, I ordered a mobile from your company last week, but when it arrived, it was badly damaged. When I called to complain, I was really told you don't accept returns and that I need to contact the delivery company for compensation. Is this really how you treat loyal customers? I'll never buy from you again. Hopeless. Wow, there's quite a lot to kind of unpack there. And it's quite sort of damning as a complaint. So once we kind of go through each one of these in turn, we want to actually start to formulate a response. So if we actually have a look at an example of how you would maybe look to respond and reply to this complaint. So this is one example. And so this isn't kind of the one size fits all approach, but one thing I will kind of just dissect here is kind of the structure of this response. So it kicks off by saying, hello, customer. Now, for the purpose of this example, the name of the customer is customer. But let's say if it was my name up there, it'd be hello, Rikesh. So that's a good note to start off on because they've actually addressed you by your name. So it looks like they've actually read your complaint in general. And then it goes into the first kind of paragraph, which says, our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused. So you're saying, really sorry that you've had that you feel this way, and the inconvenience that you've had, and the poor customer service you received. And then the next line here in that first paragraph still it says it fell below our usually high standards. So what this is actually saying is, we actually pride ourselves as a company. We pride ourselves in providing high standards, high customer service levels. That's what we value. So going way back to when we were looking at those 4 steps of developing our brand tone of voice, the first step was identifying our brand values. And that's where this actually comes in, because they're saying it without kind of coming out and saying, well, we pride our value sets are X, Y, and Z. It's just saying, no, it fell below our usually high standards. So they're actually saying to the customer here, it's not the norm. That this is not the norm that goes on as well. So that's kind of the first paragraph here. The next one goes into and kind of starts off with, we value your patronage. And this is actually a direct response to that rhetorical question in the complaint, which was, is this really how you treat loyal customers? They're actually saying, no, we value your patronage. And then they're taking things on a little bit further to say, right, so the next steps are, we've apologized, we've said sorry, we value your patronage, and now we're going to move on to the resolution side of things. So, and we'll launch a full investigation into why our team provided you with misinformation and didn't treat you with the full respect that you deserve. So now there's accountability. Now the company is also saying, right, we're actually going past the point of you telling us what we've done wrong. We've now apologized. Now we are going on kind of the proactive front in order to find a resolution and rectify this matter for you as well. And you've got kind of the final paragraph here, which says, please contact me on my direct email. And you can add a little bit more if you wanted to. Please contact me on my direct email together with your order number, and we can organize a full compensation or replacement for you. So they're looking to kind of fix the problem, but they need a few more details and information as well. And you're looking to take that offline there as well. And it's signed off by Hannah. It might have Hannah's kind of job title and kind of contact details. Definitely her email, because that's in the actual. That's actually in that final paragraph there on my direct email. So presumably that will be there as well. So that's kind of the structure of it. Now, obviously, you can mold it how you want to. And obviously, a lot of this will align with your brand values and your tone of voice in general. Remembering all of those 4 steps that we considered earlier on as well. So there are some questions in the live chat. I believe that Roshane has kindly been answering questions that have been coming through from the likes of Lisa and Maria. Thank you very much for those questions. They are much appreciated. So just to kind of round off this session and kind of look at some tools that can maybe help to elevate your content marketing game. One of those tools is Grammarly. So Grammarly is a really useful tool. There is a version that you can use at no charge, and then there are kind of more premium offerings from Grammarly that you can kind of upgrade to at a cost. But what Grammarly allows you to do is to actually screen and kind of check your content before it gets posted. So this kind of applies to written pieces of content. So you can actually check, are there any spelling errors? Are there any grammatical errors? Especially if you have someone like a Sally, who, remember, was one of those user pen portraits for the law firm example that we had. And one of those characteristics in there was a bit of a grammar nerd. So you don't want to be putting off someone like a Sally just for making a spelling error or a bit of a grammatical error as well. So you can use Grammarly as a tool. There are other tools to kind of help out with content creation and kind of create engaging visuals. So for creating eye-catching photographs, you don't need to go out and kind of buy a proper kind of camera. You can just pretty much use your smartphone these days, as the cameras on smartphones have evolved and adapted so much so that they look very professional, the actual images that are captured on there. But you can also edit photos. There's various kind of tools out there that you can edit photos on, such as the likes of VSCO which allows you to kind of add on filters as well. And then you can also go ahead and actually create templates for social media posts. So if you're going to be posting something onto your Instagram grid, you can create it in that kind of that square format. You can also create kind of story templates for posting on the likes of Instagram story and kind of Facebook stories perhaps as well. And a lot of these templates are available on platforms such as the likes of Canva, which is another fantastic tool that is available at no charge. I'm sure some of you may have heard of it. Canva is how it's spelt. And with Canva, there is a free version that we can use. So it's available for us to use at no charge. And then again, if we want to use kind of extra features and have access to kind of more images within kind of within the platform itself, then we can kind of pay for their more premium option as well. So I think it's important to kind of just consider all the tools that are available out there. I know even when I'm kind of searching for various tools, I'll see if there's a tool that is available out there at no charge. So I'll maybe kind of search for, photo editing tools. And then what I'll put at the end on my Google search is I'll put something like open source. Now, the word open source, I don't know if can't remember whether it's two words or one word kind of squished together. But what open source means is this is software which has been created by individuals, which is intended to be free for everyone. So there's no kind of requirement for you to kind of have to upgrade to a premium offering or anything like that as well. So there's some fantastic tools out there if you kind of give that a little bit of a Google as well. And another part of content creation is thinking about your equipment as well. So you can see here you've got the humble smartphone with the selfie stick. You can also find these days selfie sticks which also have a tripod built in underneath, which is quite useful if you kind of creating content kind of more statically as well. So that's kind of something to consider. And again, just use what equipment that you have. Even if it's just a case you don't have a tripod, you can maybe stack some books or whatever you've got kind of around the home or around your workspace, just to kind of create that elevation and just kind of even consider things about things in regards to kind of lighting as well. That can help elevate maybe your video content perhaps as well. So that's kind of a few things to consider just to kind of round things off when it comes to content marketing tools as well. So any sort of final questions as well? Again, I believe that Rashane has got all that covered in the chat with both Maria and Lisa. So thank you very much for all those questions, and thank you, Rashane, for kind of providing your responses in the chat as well. So if I roll into your kind of your next steps from this webinar session, one of your next steps, be sure to check out Google Mentoring. This is a really fantastic opportunity. As I mentioned, for those of you who are based in the UK and you either run or you work for a small business or a charity, you're able to have that more kind of tailored discussion and dialogue, because we appreciate that on kind of training sessions such as these webinars, there's only kind of so much kind of specific information that you can get maybe tailored to you as possible. And that's where Google Mentoring really kind of comes into its own here as well. And you can see here the links on screen if you wanted to kind of make a note of that as well. Also, be sure to check out the Google Digital Garage website, sign up for some of the other webinars that I kind of mentioned the names of as well. The links in the video description box below. And remember, there's also online courses, and it's the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course, which is that course that upon completion, you will actually receive a certificate and no charge from Google as well, just recognizing that you've completed that course. So I hope that you found this session useful. If you did, both myself and Roshane would appreciate a little bit of feedback. We've got a feedback form link on screen here. But apart from that, I want to say a massive thank you to Roshane, who I'm sure has been a wonderful chat moderator and kind of typing away, answering your questions. And thank you all for tuning in to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.